put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Viewers, welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. Again, we are focused on International Women's Day. It's all about women this week long, women hosts, women guests. And we are happy to have on set with us this morning Dr. Janelle Chase Mayers, who is the CEO of Re-Engineering Wellbeing Consultancy. And this morning, our focus is on WHE Training Seminar. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
Welcome to Tobago. Welcome to Tobago Updates.
I'm so excited. I've never been to Tobago. I've always been to Trinidad. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm very honored to be here.
I guarantee you that the experience is going to be wonderful. You're going to come back.
Yeah, I'm ready for it.
One taste of Tobago and you come back, definitely. All right, so let's talk a little bit. I want you to tell our viewers this morning, tell us about your background. Now, you are the CEO of Re-Engineering Wellbeing Consultancy, but what exactly is your background?
All right, so I have a doctorate in creative systemic studies. I have my master's in marriage and family therapy, and I hold my first degree in psychology. I'm an educator, so I've taught at the University of West Indies for the last 6 years, and I've taught at BCC, Barbados Community College, for about 16 years. And I also have experience working in the rehab facility, drug rehab, for about 13 years. I actually led the first women's rehab in Barbados, Marina House, helped coordinated that as well too. So I know I look young, but I've been around. I've been in this field for about 20 years. And really excited to be in a space now where I can give back, but also provide information that helps people with their mental health and their grief specifically. Yeah.
All right. I guess at the end of the interview, you're going to give us the secret to looking as young as you do, because I'm sure persons are sitting there, pen and paper in hand, waiting for the secret.
It's my mom, her genes.
I can attest to that, definitely. All right. Now, I want to talk a little bit here, because you specialize as well in grief. You mentioned that. What is it that we miss with grief? Are there, because we hear about the the different stages of grief. I see you nodding your head already, the different stages of grief. Is it a myth? Is it real? You tell us this morning.
So that research, actually, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she had research where she was actually researching people who are dying. So these stages of grief are actually for people who are dying, not people who are living. That's why when people experience loss, and grief is just a normal and natural reaction to a loss of any kind. That's all it is. But when people lose a loved one, death of a loved one, we tend to take that particular theory and attach it to us. Unfortunately, not everybody's angry. Not everybody's having resentment issues. Not everybody's having acceptance issues. And so when you have a miss of the theory, or the myth of the theory, what that can actually do is put people in a perpetual state of pain. And for a lot of people, they feel a lot of pain because they're like, well, what's wrong with me? Like, there's nothing that says what's wrong with me. So unfortunately, when we hear information, we don't always do our due diligence as to how the information was actually procured.
Right.
Yeah.
We just accept it.
We accept it. And then it doesn't fit. And then we don't challenge what isn't fitting. Sometimes we just accept that particular thing means that there's something wrong with us. Something has happened to us and we haven't recovered. Yeah.
All right. Now, we're talking as well about the WHE Training Seminar, grief, growth, and recovery.
Absolutely.
We're talking grief, growth, and recovery.
Yeah.
Recovery from grief.
Yeah. Whew. So let me take a pause there, because grief and loss is the one thing that all of us as human beings will experience. We will lose a tooth. We will get some gray hair. And people don't understand those things are lost. We will lose our mobility if we're not taking care of ourselves. Sometimes we're losing jobs, we're losing locations, and then we're losing loved ones. We're losing relationships. But we're ill-equipped to deal with loss. But it's going to happen to every single human being. And so one of the things that I think that keeps people very stuck is because we're not showing that there's growth after loss. We're not showing that there's recovery after loss. And unfortunately, when we don't show it, we create the reality that this is how it's supposed to be. So you lose a loved one, you're supposed to suffer for the rest of your life. You know, you lose a limb, you're not supposed to learn how to work and walk or use a different part of your body that will actually help support you. And I think it's time that we start to teach people how to grow in their grief and also how to recover and heal, because you don't get over it. My language as a certified grief recovery specialist, that's where the specialty lies, is that you complete your relationship with the hurt and the pain.
I like how you put it.
Yeah.
That you complete your relationship. So it's not just about the grief, but how do I move on from the
Yeah,
grief?
you're
How do I
completing.
live with the grief?
Because that's a cycle, that's a season. Ultimately, your capacity or your ability to manage that and actually say goodbye to what was hurt, pain, and isolation can actually give you an opportunity to recover and to live a full experience and play full out.
Question: Is grief different for the person who loses suddenly or loses? I don't want to say when you see death coming. There's some situations where you see death coming. You look at a scenario and say, "This is I see where this is going," and you can trace it, you can follow it, and you know it's just a matter of time. And then there is the case where you go to bed one night and you wake up and your world has changed. Is it different for the individual, or is it grief across the board?
So allow me to be personal and transparent here. And so I
Please
am one
do.
of those individuals who lost very suddenly. I was 27 years old. I just had a baby. My son was 4 weeks old. And one day my husband got up early in the morning, had an asthma attack, never recovered, was in a coma for 2 weeks and died. Now, the notion that grief is similar to everybody, that experience of us losing is what is familiar to us, especially if it's a loss of a loved one. So we have over 40 losses. But what makes us very unique in our grief experience is the culture, our relationship to people, how we process it, the skill set. So for other people, it might have been the most devastating thing and their inability to actually function over a period of time. But for me, because I had a skill set already in the mental health field, I knew how to process certain things. And I knew there were certain things that I had to go through that no book could teach me, that no experience of somebody else could share that could change my trajectory. So there are similarities, but there are also unique experiences that we have to honor for people. Because when we honor that, then we give people the grace that is associated with that experience of grief.
Now, we were talking off the air about joy and sadness, sort of coming from the same place.
Yes.
But how do you move forward? How do you celebrate? How do you be joyful? How can you smile again when you've been so hurt, so torn, so broken? How do you move from that place? Is it wake up one morning and decide I'm going to smile today?
Sometimes it is. Absolutely.
Or is it a process to getting back there?
I think there's a process, but there's also making a decision, because emotions are neither negative or positive. They're just expressions of how we feel and how we could communicate with ourselves, our bodies, and other people. And so somewhere along the line, somebody said, grief is a bad emotion. But sometimes for people who are experiencing watching their loved one, and if we're talking about that particular loss of a loved one, when you see that person lose their battle, but you know that they've gained, their own existence in another space, people are happy, right? So it is also how we express it. Because my capacity to grieve or share with another person is my humanity with people. And so grievers love to talk. We love to share stories with each other, because that says that I'm heard, you're heard. I'm seen, you're seen. So that dichotomy of negative or positive or emotions also stunts our capacity to be human, because as long as we're human, we're going to have a range of expressions. Yeah.
Wow, okay. And I wish I could be a part of this, viewers, because here's what, a lot of great things coming out here from WHE. And you tell us about the training seminar and who it caters to.
All right, so I just have to shout out Miss Billy Sterling.
And that's our girl, Billy Sterling Lewis. That's our Tobago girl that we have loaned over to Antigua, is it?
Yes.
Yes, we've loaned her to Antigua. Go ahead.
All right, so Billy has created an excellent program in healing and empowerment, and we're really going to be focusing on how we have conversations about grief and loss, because as I said before, we don't have those conversations. But one of the things that I really want to impress on people is how to become competent grievers. Because it's going to happen to us. You know, when it will happen, it will be is a completely different story.
Competent grievers.
Yeah. Because we're all ill-equipped to deal with loss because we don't talk about it. So in the seminar, we'll be talking about also national crisis of grief, right? When you think about floods, disasters, murder, suicide, all of those things are grieving experiences. But we expect people every day to get up and walk around as if nothing has happened. And we don't give them the tools. So as a Caribbean, we have to start having those conversations, one, with where we're based first, and then two, how that impacts the way in which we actually relate to each other. Because we live in a very healing space as well, too. We walk out of the studio, we're right on, we see the ocean, right? And we don't tap into those things. So we're going to be also tapping into cultural components of how we grieve, what we were told, because there is a lot of what we were told that is actually incorrect.
As it relates to grief.
As it relates to grief.
Now, in the Caribbean space, we as you said, grief is a part of life, yes. But how we deal with grief, it's not how they deal with grief on the outside, in the outside world. We if there is we feel like we need some support, but a support group says that we are having mental health issues, and you don't want anyone to associate what you're feeling with mental health issues, because mental health issues are taboo. It says that you're crazy, and your whole family crazy, and your children gonna be crazy. Billy, you understand? Yeah, Billy's also, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how do you get Caribbean persons to understand that this is okay, this is normal, and it's okay to talk with someone, it's okay to share how you feel, it's okay to get that type of support?
Yeah, so funny enough, this is actually my Re-Engineer Wellbeing Caribbean Mental Health Tour.
Yeah.
So this is my second stint. I did St. Vincent about 2 weeks ago. Tobago is my next step. Where I go next, I'm ready.
Anyone knows?
Anybody who's ready, let me know. But the reality of it is, we have the word mental health wrong, because mental health really just means brain health. How are you taking care of your brain? And
because of how we've used the term over the years. Oh, she's mental. He's mental. He's having mental health issues. You're not too stable.
Yeah, you may be having mental health challenges, which is completely different from mental health hygiene, which is different to mental illness. So most people are having conversations about mental illness as we're having about physical illness. You know, and we have to change that narrative, because their mental health is their ability to psychologically cope with everyday stressors and actually be productive in your community. That's the definition of mental health. So when we're, again, going back to grief, when we
totally out of context.
Yeah. Well, when we have misnomers, then it doesn't add value for people to be human. You know, we dehumanize people's experiences. If you're having challenges with your physical health versus physical illness, we separate those two. And I think it's time that we start giving people the effective language to actually change their narrative in being better stewards of their brain health and better stewards of their relationships, because that's what grief really is. Our relationship with something that we've lost, an experience that we've lost. And when we can actually have a better understanding of that, we'll have a better strategy of helping ourselves and helping our nations.
All right. So all of this is happening on the 9th and 10th of March, which is today and tomorrow.
Yes.
All right, so tell us a little bit more about it and how persons can access it.
Yes, so we're going to be at the Bonacard Multipurpose Center, and anybody who has lost anything in life can benefit from this. This is where I want to start.
Anyone.
Anything, anyone. I think for me, one of the things is asking people to invest in their recovery. Because we invest in so many other things, we have to start investing in our recovery. Because when we don't, what's going to end up happening is things like Alzheimer's and dementia and neurological disorders are going to happen more because we have not relieved the stress. So come out to Bonacard Multipurpose Center. We're going to be there from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And can I discuss costs? Because I know it's up there.
Yeah.
Think about the investment of 1,400 TT in relation to you losing your mind. Because sometimes we don't consider that for a second. Like, what will it cost me if I don't do anything? What's my return on investment?
Right.
And I want a lot of people to understand that we have to start investing in our mental health. We have to start investing in our wellness as much as you do. Hair did, nails did, all that's done, brain did. We need to start doing that.
That's right. We focus on the hair, the outfit, making sure your toes on fleek, eyebrows
Absolutely.
on fleek.
Make sure your brain on fleek.
On fleek, that's right. I want to thank you this morning, Dr. Mayers, for being on the program with us. And Sydney Tobago, I want to encourage you to go on now because she mentioned it. You've lost something, you've lost someone.
Yeah.
This is about supporting through the process.
Absolutely.
All right. Invest in your mental health. Invest in your mental health.
Mental wealth.
And wealth, yes. So and I almost said Dr. Billy. I don't know, maybe
soon.
Yes. Billy Sterling Lewis, good morning to you, Reverend Nevin Lewis out there in Antigua, and to the whole Lewis clan that we've loaned you over to Antigua, but we're gonna get you back. You belong to us. We say love going out to you guys as well. All right, so thank you again for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, well, viewers, we've got lots more coming up. So Khadijah's gonna be joining me back on set, and so share the live.